Hey you guys, thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to be showing you how I added the veneer stone to this beautiful fireplace. I actually built this fireplace from scratch. I had a big empty wall, I needed something to do with it, so I built that. We will have a full video on that process for you, but today we're going to show you all about this stone. Hey everyone, welcome to Crystal Montenegro Home. I'm excited to show you guys my DIY fireplace. I had a big empty wall that I needed to fill up, and I'm going to show you the process of applying this stone. This was actually really scary to me to start for some reason, but I ended up doing it and it really wasn't as bad as I thought. This stone came from Centurion Stone of Iowa. This is their Oak Park blend, and it's a very thin veneer. It's actually really lightweight, surprisingly lightweight, which I was happy about. And I'm just mixing the mortar and applying it on, and I will go into all of those details in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I am applying these stones. So I actually ended up mixing the grout, mixing the mortar a little bit thinner than last time. I'm adding more water. And so it's quite a bit runnier. This is what the consistency looks like. It's a little bit runnier, so I'm just loading up the back of these. This one's a corner one. Make sure you get it on the other side of the corner too. And then I'm getting plenty on there. And just making it, and then just chopping it a little bit. And then once you have enough on there, all you do is stick it on, but once you put it on, don't break the seal, because it creates its own little section. So put it on where you want it. Get some of that squeeze out. And then it should be strong enough to hold itself on. And then if there's any that squeezes like too far beyond the cracks here, then I'll get some of that out. Just because I'm going to be putting a different color of grout in here. So I'm doing it. Okay, so let me show you how I'm going to fill in some of these gaps. So I found a stone that's as tall as I want it to go right here, and I need to cut it about right here. So I'm just going to hold my finger there, and then we'll go outside. Okay, so I want to cut this thing right here. So I have got my table saw. I'm going to line it up approximately where I want it, and I'm going to cut the back side of it. Okay, so see that? I didn't cut all the way through. I probably could go a little bit deeper, but once I get a good cut, I am keeping this piece, okay? So now I'm just going to hammer the rest off, and what that does, it makes it so it's not a perfect edge, but I'm using my hammer if it is too straight. I'm just going to chip off that edge a little bit more so that it looks a little more realistic. That's how we're cutting them. Now I can come in here, get some more of my mortar. Trying to get the factory edge on the inside, because that's what I'm going to be seeing. Do a little squeeze. There we go. Okay, so here I am. I'm just throwing these bricks on. I actually had an inspiration picture that I was wanting to mimic, but I didn't study it thoroughly enough. So ultimately I decided to take these front bricks off and give it more horizontal lines. It's looking a little too cabiny for me. So we're gonna take these front bricks off and make more horizontal lines. Okay, so I think I decided that I want to keep these horizontal lines consistent all the way across. So I'm just going to be removing this section of the stone and trying to match those lines up across. Let's hope it works. So as you can see, I was actually pleasantly surprised that it was as difficult as it was to take off the rocks that I already put on. It had taken off a little bit of the scratch coat, but it actually was okay because I just added some more mortar and it filled those areas in nicely. So here I am. You can see that I do have some variation in my horizontal lines. I did a couple of rows that were perfectly horizontal that had no variation in height. But just to break that up and match the bottom a little bit, I did want to add a little bit of variation, so I doubled up on some of these layers, as you can see here. And I feel like that just made the whole rest of it cohesive, but also not perfectly brick laid. And it worked out nicely with this mortar that I added a little bit more water to make it a little more runny. Not too runny, but enough that the bricks were actually, the stone actually was held on by suction. So let me show you how I mix that up. I grab this bag right here. It's a little bit heavy, but I'm really strong. And I added a little bit of water. I wanted to add less water first because it's easier to add more water and mix it a little bit at a time than it is to add more grout. So you can see here the consistency is like a thick pancake batter. It's thick enough to hold its shape, but it will also slide just a little bit, so it's not too thick. So I just ran to Lowe's, and this is the grout bag I got. I'm gonna fill up with the grout and go. All right, so after these grout joints have had just a little bit of time to set and get a little bit harder, I'm just going in with my finger. I need, some of these I need to add more to because they're not deep enough. But I'm just going through and just smudging all those edges to give it that over-grouted look. So as you can see here, I'm using my fingers to close up any gaps between the stone and the grout. I do not want gaps there, that's what causes cracks. So I just try to make that as smooth as possible and smooth out any indents in the grout that I didn't want because I wanted it to be a fairly smooth looking grout. I finished off the rest of the fireplace, as you can see, after I let it set up some. And then I went over all of it with a masonry brush just to brush off any loose debris or dust or bits of mortar that just had not fully adhered yet. And this made it so whenever anyone touched my fireplace after it was done, I wouldn't have a mess to clean up. And that is all I have to teach you about adding veneer stone. It actually turned out so beautiful. I'm so happy with it. I hope it was helpful and I hope you subscribe.